Will my heart explode before I get any of these answers? There's just so much going on in here, and I feel like I'm just still processing everything because it's so crazy. What's up, everybody? How you all doing out there? I hope this video is finding you well. Welcome to Get Right On In. My name is Andrew, for those of you who do not know. It has been a minute since I have done a book review on this channel, but today I am going to be talking about Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. This is not going to be a spoiler-free chat at all. I have so much that I have to say right now that I haven't even figured out how I would talk about this book spoiler-free. So if you haven't read this book and you don't want any spoilers, this is not going to be the video for you. But if you have read this book or you are interested in spoilers or just my thoughts, welcome aboard. I'm not even going to waste any time apart from that. So without further ado, let's just get right on in. Okay, so first step, I should say that this was a 4 out of 5 read for me. Without really getting too much into it, obviously I'm about to here, but as of right now, this is my least favorite out of the Stormlight Archive. The things that I liked in this book, I really liked, and the things that I didn't like in this book, I just did not like. I will go ahead and just get started on the things that I don't like, just so I can get those out of the way. I did not like Lezlie. I mean, I didn't dislike Lezlie as a character per se. I just felt like all of her stuff was just super extra forced on us in this book. Like all of them flashback chapters that didn't even start until page like 600. I just don't understand the need for that. And I have talked before, and I'll probably talk again at some point on this channel about how I worry that Mr. Brandon Sanderson is going to start treating all of these books like they have to be these huge 1,200 page tomes. And my opinion on that is, if it works, great. If it doesn't, please just be okay with that. As of this recording, I just this morning started rereading The Eye of the World. It is the only book of the Wheel of Time series that I have read, and while I can already see the influence from that on the Stormlight Archive, and while I know that Mr. Jordan is known for all of his expository information, I will just say that Rhythm of War was the first time that I feel like I've ever read a Brandon Sanderson book where I was just like, it's too much extra crap. And especially considering the fact that we already know most of the Lezlie stuff from Eshonai anyway. I understand that Mr. Sanderson changed things around from how he originally had things planned. He moved things up into Words of Radiance, and the things that he moved up from this book that went into that book, I understand made that book that much better or whatever. But to me, there were some changes here that needed to happen in Rhythm of War, especially to match up with whatever changes he made that have made it into the cut of what Words of Radiance is now. And it's not that I don't think that there's anything interesting about Lezlie, and it's not like I hate her completely or whatever. I like what's going on with the singers, and I like all that stuff. I just felt like there was way too much, and I felt like all of the flashbacks in this book should have been either Raboniel or Navani. Navani, oh my gosh. And that is if we even need these flashbacks at all, considering the fact that we don't even start them until page 584. In my chapter by chapter notes that I kept for this book, I even mentioned in chapter 14 when we met Lezlie for the first time in this book that I felt like that initial chapter would have been better as an interlude chapter. So that is how I felt about her from the start. But Raboniel or Navani, that would have made for a much more suitable main character in this book, I think. Especially if we're going to have all these extra flashbacks. And I guess with that being said, if flashbacks are still going to continue and be a thing in this series, which I'm pretty sure they are, I don't know, maybe it would be better if it was more than just one character at a time. You know, we didn't see any of the Lezlie stuff until the later portion of this book, and if Raboniel or Navani had had those flashbacks, I think that it just would have been all the better, especially if the same amount of time used for flashbacks was still used used to keep it a 1219 page book, but the Venli stuff was cut in half and moved to the beginning of the book, and then maybe Navani and Raboniel or one or the other could have had the second half of the book or something. I don't know, but I was not feeling Venli, obviously. I'm just trying to make up ways that maybe it would have been better for me, because by the end, I just did not care about her or her storyline or anything going on. I don't know. I could feel different on a reread. We will see. As of now, I have basically read one Stormlight Archive book per year for the last 4 years, every year in December. I don't really know how that happened, but I did Way of Kings December 2017, Words of Radiance 18, Oathbringer 19, and now Rhythm of War here in 20. And I haven't reread any of them yet because I was kind of planning on waiting until at least the first arc. I think the 6 books of 12 planned are done, so that there's at least like one full story maybe that I could like binge from start to finish. But I don't know. And I know that there's all these live streams with Brandon Sanderson, and I know all the really big Brandon Sanderson fans attend that and they get all this extra information that as of right now I am not privy to. Hasn't even been a day since I finished this and I'm just trying to process still. There was just a lot going on in this book, and there's definitely a lot of stuff that I did like, but before I start talking about anything that I liked, I have one more vent to put out there, and that is that I struggled very heavily with the amount of POV hopping going on in all of these chapters. Oh my goodness. I feel like that kind of stuff usually only happens at the end of these books when everything is like coming to a head and it feels like, I guess it makes sense for everything to be like that. When that happens, it's like it's flawless and it's seamless and it all just seems to go together so well, but that was just not how I was really feeling in this book. There were so many times when I felt like it was just jumping all over the place. At the end, when everything was coming to a head and we were kind of jumping all back and forth and everything like that, it was the time that I felt like it was right and when it was necessary, because it was like the climax and everything like that. But especially at the beginning of the book, when we're first re-meeting all of these characters from the past books for the first time in this book, it was too much jumping around, and I just wanted to take some time to be able to invest in their storylines from the beginning. I tried really hard to like it, but ultimately I just struggled. I had lots of conversations about this with Lezlie over at the Nerdy Narrative while I was reading it. She liked it because she said that there's usually so much time that goes on in between characters, but I guess I'm just kind of used to that from adult fantasy books like this that have all of these characters. I mean, could you imagine if one chapter of Game of Thrones had like Arya, Cersei, and Daenerys all within one chapter? Because that's how I felt reading Rhythm of War. There are definitely some big vents that I put in my chapter by chapter notes, which I've linked down in the description box for anybody who's curious. I can appreciate anybody who disagrees with me and who might have liked it more than I did, but for me it just made the story a little more jarring. And admittedly, even in my notes, I wondered if said notes was what made it harder to be enjoyable for me, because there really is every chance to the truth that because I'm keeping these little chapter by chapter notes, it just frustrates me because every time it switches POV I have to stop and recap what just happened and then retune my brain to be into this new POV for like 2 seconds before I have to jump. Yeah, actually, you know what? No, it really did just bother me. It wasn't because it was just my chapter by chapter notes. It really just like bothered me from start to finish. My brain may move at 2 speed, but I do not like getting pulled out of a story like that. I'm sorry. I don't know, it works better in movies than it does in books, just in general, and I don't know. That was just, I don't know. But I'm done with all the vents. That is all of the stuff that bothered me about this book. And now I'm gonna move on to some of the good stuff, because oh my goodness, oh, the end of this book especially just was so stressful, and it was so I'm just stressed out. I've been trying to figure, so I'm stressed, okay? Cause let's face it, Brandon Sanderson is ultimately just a killer writer. He could take the telephone book and turn it into the most epic adventure of all time. Now that all my issues are out of the way, honestly, there were so many times in this book where I was just on the edge of my seat waiting to know what was about to happen. Which, to be honest, is actually part of the reason that I was so irritated with the Venli stuff, was because I felt that literally any other character and any other storyline was literally just so much more interesting than hers, and I just wish that we could have been with anybody else. Oh my gosh. But let me start with Kaladin, okay? Because you listen to me, you people of Roshar, and you listen to me well. Y'all need to back the up off my man Kaladin, okay? I'm about to pull a Bastion from the Neverending Story up in this bitch. I'm about to jump in there, I'm about to join some Bridge 4, and I'm about to whop some ass, okay? Okay? Oh, I was so stressed out with Kaladin this whole entire time. But I loved everything going on with Kaladin, mental health, and the effects that war has on the psyche. Kaladin is one of the mental health storylines that I really, really appreciated from this book. I live across the street from a military base. I'm literally looking at it right now. I have met a lot of soldiers who have been through a lot of PTSD from the things that they have experienced in war. And personally, I just feel that that was handled very well in this book. I mean, from Kaladin losing his ranking all the way up until Kaladin the Stormblessed up at the end, okay? Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so stressed out. This pursuer was getting on my nerves, and Moash with these visions, and Kaladin just thinking that he's not good enough. And you know what, Mr. Kaladin, sir, if you ever think that you are not good enough, you just come over and you talk to me. I will take care of you, okay? Because all of you Adolin lovers can have him. I'm gonna stick with the real man of this series, okay? Thank you. I know Casey from Lost in a Bookcase, if she's in here with me right now, she'll be with me. Kaladin is the man of this series. Thank you very much. Oof. Anyway, but the Kaladin and Syl storyline, and then the whole depiction of Spren and slavery and choices and all of the everything about that honestly really was just so incredible. That's the kind of stuff that makes people love this book and this series, you know what I mean? I am definitely interested to see what will become of my unbeatable hubby in the future books, because I'm telling you, y'all people of Roshar need to step aside. You leave my man alone, because if you don't, I will just continue to enjoy watching him just beat your ass. Except for that I'm totally scared that he's gonna go down this like path of destruction that I really don't want him to go on. I have in my notes that that moment that he's holding Tef's body felt like an Anakin Skywalker holding his dead mama kind of moment, and that is when he just went off to the dark side, and I'm just really nervous that that's what's gonna happen later on, and I don't want it to. That was just like a major turning point for Kaladin, and I don't think it was in a good way, and I'm just so stressed out. Oh my god. I need for Kaladin to just come home to Papa, okay? I'll take care of it all. And you know, if Brando Sando hurts you, I'll write a fanfic for you, honey. Now let's talk about Navani, the Queen, okay? Whoa. I love her so much. And I felt bad. I felt so bad for her throughout this whole entire book with Raboniel. Everything that was going on with all of that. But damn, did I love that storyline between those two. And I loved watching how that relationship grew. To me, I feel like that was sincerely, as a whole, the strongest storyline of the book. That's just why I so badly wish that it was one of them at least who had gotten more of the screen time in here, because I just would have had so much more fun hanging out with them. The tension between Navani and Raboniel was just so formidable and so incredible. And I really did just love every second of it. But Raboniel, ooh, she was hard. She was a hard one to deal with. Like Raboniel killing her daughter, everything going on with the sibling. I mean, everything in here was just so wild with Navani, and I think that she did a great job doing her best to protect her people. I loved the approach to her as a scholar in these books. Obviously, that's not new to her character. I just love the development of it in this book. I love the way her mind works. I have always loved her as a character, but I really think that in this book, her character just strengthened so much for me, and she's really bumped up a lot. So good. I mean, so good. I mean, my love for her is why I have so much bitterness toward Venli, but I have to stop whining about that sometime. Maybe now that I've let it out. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But, Dalinar. Yasna. Okay. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about these two for a second, because if my stress level hasn't gotten high enough as it is. My goodness. I do love me some Daddy Dalinar, okay? I do love me some Yasna, and I'm really happy that, I mean, both of them are in this book, because why wouldn't they be? But I love them. Yasna is a great character, and she always has been. I love the way she is depicted when it comes to being a feminist and a progressive leader and all of that kind of stuff. Progressive thinker and all of that kind of stuff. She fights her own battles, and she is not a character that you want to mess with, let me tell you something. Woo! I also really liked the strengthening of the Dalinar and Yasna relationship as uncle and niece in this book, and I am very interested to see the further development of the Colin family in all of the future books, especially when we consider how much of a boss Navani is, okay? But let us talk about Mr. Daddy Dalinar here in this little contest of champions thing or whatever he's got going on with Odium. Is this war going to end after this little contest? Who will Odium choose to be his champion? Is Daddy Dalinar gonna be successful? Will my heart explode before I get any of these answers? There's just so much going on in here, and I feel like I'm just still processing everything because it's so crazy. Like, still processing in that when I first started writing my review for this, I thought it was Adolin who had to do the little champion conquest thing, but he has the trial by witness thing that I'm gonna talk about in a minute because there's just so much going on, it's hard to keep track, but that's why I kept my chapter by chapter notes to keep myself straight. Cause actually, okay, yeah, so let's actually talk about Shalyn, and Adolin. Shalyn, I don't know what her name is. I call her Shalyn, other people call her Shalyn. I'm pretty sure the audiobook calls her Shalon. Potato, whatever. I don't know what's going on with Shalyn. But honestly, I love the way that she is depicted with her mental health. Toward the end of this book, I had made a comment about how that depiction of her mental health reminded me of a book called Sybil. Sybil was a book that I read in high school psychology class, and it's also a movie from, I think, the 80s with Sally Field. It is about a woman who suffers from 16 different personalities. And the movie was good, but the book is something that honestly has really stuck with me. Shalon, whatever. There was just so many parts in this book where Shalon just reminded me of Sybil from the psychologist interviews from that book. Just, I mean, like the fear of her past and how certain things have gone to shape her and forced her into these kind of compartmentalized thoughts and personalities within her own head. How she was scared of Adolin finding out certain truths about her. I loved it. I loved how she was depicted from all of that in this book. I mean, she's sneaky as hell, okay? And she got herself into some trouble up in this book, but I think that everything going on with her was just handled very well, and I'm appreciative of the way, this was another storyline, like I've said, with Kaladin's, that I just appreciate how Mr. Sanderson has written these issues of mental health and stability, and I'm appreciative of the positive way I feel like it was shown, especially when it comes to Shalyn and Adolin. I know I can't say her name, I'm just gonna say them all, but I appreciate that Adolin was so willing to be supportive of her, because I feel like that could have gone a whole different way, and I appreciate the positivity when it comes to the conversation of mental health in this book. But with Adolin, I've already barfed enough as it is with how romantic he is. But let's talk about his little trial by witness thing, because, okay, hello, oh my gosh, everything going on with the honor spren, high spren, all the spren, every spren, I'm just so stressed out. Oh my lord. The Adolin storyline was pretty minuscule in this book compared to like everything else going on, Venli. But I certainly think that the actual trial by witness section at the end there was very intense and very page turner worthy, and I was there for every second of it. I'm just so stressed. I don't know what else to say. This book has just stressed me out so much. Moash, you're a dick. I don't know what else to say about any of that. I just don't like you. Taravangian, you're now Odium, and I don't know what to do about that because that was really stressful, and all of this book has just added like 50 bushy grays to my head, and I just, like, I'm gonna have to start dyeing my hair just to keep it brown because of reading this book and everything that I've gone through. My dreams last night were wild, yo. Like, what is gonna happen in book 5? What is gonna happen in book 5? What is gonna happen in book 5? I don't even know. Like, I don't even think that my brain is quite ready to even start thinking about that yet. I know I'm worried about Kaladin becoming Anakin Skywalker. I'm nervous about this little champion thing with Daddy Dalinar. I'm just stressed out, but I think that that is at least all that I needed to get off of my chest from having finished this book about 12 hours ago. I slept and I woke up and then I wrote this review and have now delivered it to you. But what did y'all think about this absolutely incredible piece of work? I know that I slammed it a little bit at the beginning. I know it's only a 4 out of 5 for me, and I know that it is my least favorite so far in the Stormlight Archive series, but I still really like this book a lot, and especially, you know, the Sanderlanche at the end. We all know, I knew it even reading it. It says it in my notes. Anytime I had a problem with anything, I've read enough Sanderson books to know that the end of the book will always make it worth it. I just don't need all the extra fluff in the future books. Let that Sanderlanche come faster, okay? Because I'm ready to be with these characters. But I'm just stressed out. I'm just so stressed out. Oh my gosh. What did you guys think? I would love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear if you want me to do a spoiler-free review that's not going to be 45 minutes long. I have no idea how long this is actually going to be, but I would love to know what y'all thought about this book. Thank you, Mr. Sanderson, for taking me on another ride. And oh my gosh, maybe now I can go breathe again. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a little thumbs up, and if you didn't, give it a little thumbs down, because I don't know, if you're still here at the end of all that rambling and you didn't like this video, I don't know what to tell you. I'd love it if you would also consider hitting that little subscribe button. I post bookish and writerly and entertainment-y-esque content every Tuesday, Thursday, and sometimes Sunday. Probably more often on Sundays by the time whenever happens, but that's gonna do it for me on this, and I will see you all next time. Keep reading and writing and being creative and imaginative and just yourself.